You're listening to the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast with Matt and Rich. Welcome back to episode Vernon Fiddler of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast.
Great guy, by the way. Just great guy.
Yes. On this week's episode, we got a little bit of talk about, and including a fight at the mullet that resulted in somebody losing a finger, at least partial. I also noticed last week that we didn't talk too much about the Tempe or new arena going to referendum, and we also can talk a little bit about the game itself that the finger was lost at, and that was the Boston Bruins game that the Coyotes beat them in regulation with some drama.
Surprised me. But it doesn't surprise me at all that it happened at a Boston game. I know it's like 30 or 23 seconds in, so the face-off's dropped, let's go Boston chant starts, I hear the goal horn go off, and my first reaction is what the hell's going on? And then the let's go Coyotes chant starts immediately after that, and the Coyotes, I think, they went down 2-1 at one point. Here, I have the notes right here, instead of just talking out my booty, So Pasternak scores, Coyle scores, it's 2-1, and then Lawson Crouse scores 10:40 the second period, and I'm sitting there at my desk, and I'm like, my first thought, why are you keeping pace with them? I want Connor Bedard.
Yep.
Stop scoring.
Well, one of the main reasons that they kept pace was, the Calder finalist and Calder winner, Matias Maccelli, had an absolutely crazy game. 2 assists last night. He honestly could have had 4. So the Coyotes ended up getting a goal called back because of a very, very, very skimpy offside, shall I say. Man, they must have had some definitive angle, because what I saw was not definitive. But he had a crazy pass on that goal that was called back. That would have been his 3rd assist, so cut that one off. And then the tip by Lawson Crouse from the Shane Gostisbehere goal, Chychrun got just a little poke in just before it got to Gostisbehere, and that meant that Chychrun got the assist instead of Maccelli, which made a really, really good play on that goal. It looked like that offensive zone chance was all but done. There was 3 white jerseys around him, and he just says, "Nah, I'm okay," and just squibs his way into the open ice, and 3 different Boston players are attacking him, and he somehow was able to, I think he ended up losing possession. That's why Chychrun poked it, but it was still a really impressive play of him, forcing his way through all 3 of those players and somehow making it work.
Matias Maccelli, what number did I throw out last week? Was it $4 million that he could get if he keeps playing this way on his contract?
Something like that, yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm running off the assumption that I said $4 million last week. Just whatever the hell second, third gear he went into, every offensive play, every single offensive play,
Yep.
He was the best player on the ice. Like Clayton Keller, you guys know I'm high on Keller. I don't know if it's just a one-game thing. I don't know if he's I don't know if he's just starting to tease his highest potential here. But he was clearly the best player on the ice every time he was around the puck. He was making the plays. He outworking everyone. If I see more games like that, he's gonna have easily
upwards of 6
points. This year.
Upwards of $6 million, you'd think, for contracts.
Oh yeah, for contracts, yeah. I was talking about points as well, but it's he'll be easily around 60 points if he keeps that up. That was just ridiculous. And yeah, no, 6.5. Again, I know it's one game, so also I want to make sure I'm being very specific here when I'm saying if that keeps up, if you're seeing more of this, if he's just teasing his upper potential right now and kind of works his way into that. Yeah, no, the bank's gonna be broken. A 4.5 a year is gonna be a bargain.
I look at this and I go, man, the Coyotes have an embarrassment of riches all of a sudden, and young players. Where does he fit up? Right? You look at what the Coyotes have Excuse me. Sorry about that. We we look at the wings and oh my goodness, where do we fit everyone? We've got Michelli, Gunnar, Kraus, Schmaltz, Keller. All of a sudden that top six, at least for the wingers, you're going, where the heck are we going to put all these wingers? So
on other teams.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, you can't justify it. It's good for Gunnar because I feel like even though he was still producing, it was tapering off just a little bit. So it's like, hey, let him go dominate among the upper echelon of junior players and then come back. So it probably will benefit development. And again, he was still playing well. Like don't get it twisted. He was playing well.
Get it twisted.
His scoring was going off a little bit, ever so slightly. But you send him off for a little bit. But when he comes back, you still can't justify sending him back to juniors. You really can't justify scratching him. I don't know why they chose to for a couple games. I think Craig Morgan referred to that and the Michelli scratching as a step back, as apparently a common practice. I think it sounds dumb, but it seems to be working. So you know what? There's a method to the madness, I suppose. But you have to look at potentially trading someone out because Krauser is turned into the bargain of the century, and he's still on pace for about 35 to 40 goals. I think it's literally just under 40 goals, technically. He scored 2 goals in that game. He has 12 on the year, 15 total points, so he's pretty much establishing himself. He's never really been, the greatest passer, but he's establishing himself as the exact finishing winger we've needed that's also big and physical. He'll get in front of the net to where it's like, you need that minimum on your third line, but I think with how well he's playing, he's probably not really justified in going down to the third line. Michelli is a first-line winger. Straight up, with how he's playing, I want him playing with Keller. I feel like that would be ridiculous, but the problem is Schmaltz plays with Keller. And I know we come back to this, it seems like every single week for the last month or so, but I remember when they first started going into this rebuild, and there was, they lost however many assets, with Chaika leaving, and it's like, oh, I said it then, we're good for about a year with not getting, extra prospects in, but it's going to be really thin, and after that you need to start really restocking. Well, it took about a year and a half, and those cupboards are nice and filled, and we still have plenty more assets to get even better talent in, where it's like, they're in a completely different position, and Michelli doesn't justify being in the bottom six. Just straight up, he doesn't, to where it's the only spot I can see to get rid of, and is it 2 or 3 weeks for the junior tournament that Gunnar's going to be gone?
I don't know, actually. I don't know if we have the dates finalized. I haven't looked at the schedule.
We'll just say a month, just to have a generic term. So that means, when Gunnar's ready to come back, I really don't care, again, how good Schmaltz is. That's a guy I'm looking at trading. That's a guy that you have to, because
unless he plays center, but
unless he can go back to center, but where are you going to put Boyd? Because the problem is Travis Boyd is only a number one center when playing with Keller and Schmaltz. That was the secret sauce, because he's getting the ice time, he's getting the time with the better players. But I feel like, and I think they've kicked him off that line a lot this season. I don't really know where else he fits in the lineup. And that's not trying to take a jab at him. You can put him in the bottom six and he'll be fine. And then you have that, I think he's on, a 2-year contract or something like that. So
well, he could fit
have him for a couple of years.
He could fit on the second line, like a Travis Boyd, Kraus, Gunnar line. But I don't know who passes on that line, right? You're putting 2 shooters, and Boyd does have a good pass, and he's pretty smart in the offensive zone, especially what he's shown this year. He loves to do the little spinorama, drop back, and pass it. But ultimately,
that's the only other passer you have, because he makes smart passes. His problem is you're also putting him with a lot of bricks. Look, again, I'm not allowed to trash talk Fisher anymore because he's too important to the locker room, but he still, other than a few plays here or there, he still kind of has stone hands. There was one play where Hayden had a really nice pass over to him, and he couldn't handle the pass. And it also doesn't mean that the pass was perfect, but at the same time, he needs to be with better finishers. And I think Hayden with Gunnar should be fine. Hayden with a guy like Kraus should be fine. But Michelli, with how well he's playing, I need him with Keller. I need to see how he plays with Clayton Keller, and if that either elevates Keller or Michelli or both further, or if it's kind of they both fill the exact same role, separate them again. But like, I need to see that experiment. I need to see where the hell that could go, because in theory, that should be a cheat code.
Yeah.
Just straight up, that should be a cheat code if that play continues. So it's kind of ridiculous how well Michelli's played, and what was that? He said the 2 assists, but he had a goal. I think a goal of his that was waved off, and that Josh Brown goal, the first goal of the game, it originally said it went to Michelli. I had not seen the replay. I went out to the tunnel, and for some reason they don't show the replays immediately after the goals for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. When I saw it on Twitter, it was straight up just a Josh Brown shot. I don't know why. I don't know why they announced it as Michelli.
Yeah, I don't know why either. I was literally talking to my dad. I'm like, that Michelli didn't shoot this. He wasn't even in front. Like, he was back on the blue line. Like, I don't know how you screwed that up. But did you see how Josh Brown was able to get open and get to the front of the net? Did you see what the direct results of how he got there?
Because what I remember of the play was it was kind of like, I don't know what the term would be, so I'm just going to say they kind of made a Y formation where Michelli has the puck. He's kind of like in between the circles, and it looked like he just kind of dropped it back for Brown. No one cares that Josh Brown is right there because you don't respect his shot, and then you just put it in.
It's not that no one cares. So if you go back and watch the play closely, what happens is Michelli's in front of the net with Charlie McAvoy, and the pass is coming to Michelli, and he gives McAvoy a quick stick lift, and McAvoy wasn't ready for it, and his stick went flying into the corner. So as Michelli said, screw off and stick lifted him, McAvoy wasn't ready for it. There's no penalty. Like, that's not a penalty. You if you're going upwards with the stick, that's only your own fault for losing your stick.
Yeah,
if it's downwards,
is not a penalty.
Yeah.
Downward is a slash. We all know this. That's a consistent. Well, unless you're a Toronto fan, then you don't understand that when you're playing the Coyotes.
but perfect stick lift, absolutely screws over McAvoy. He receives the pass, starts to skate back to the blue line. That's when McAvoy actually goes to the corner. He leaves his middle of the ice position and goes to the corner to go get his stick, leaving a wide open gap for somebody to come and fill. And that's when Josh Brown noticed and squirted in. And that's how that goal happened. It was all pretty much the whole reason that defensive breakdown happened was because McAvoy stick lifted Michelli
stick lifted McAvoy.
Yep. Pretty cool.
I just think that Krauser also had an assist in that game too. So I want a side note, Krauser's playing well too. But it's just kind of ridiculous, like when you think about it, just how. I'm high on Josh Brown as a defensive defenseman, but it's ridiculous how one player just making those little. It's the little things, and I feel like it's something that if I was covering Clayton Keller in 2018, 2019, I could have articulated better. Mm-hmm. But it's those things you look for a complete player, and the awareness to be able to do that, and the awareness to the discipline to you go for a stick lift up. You don't slash down. You just stick lift it. You realize he's not paying attention. And that's great hockey IQ because either he's got to defend without a stick or he's got to make the decision to jump off the play to go grab his stick. And that's perfect.
Yep.
And having, Josh Brown, again, more defensive defenseman, also being able to recognize that and put himself in a good position because he had a wide open lane. And it's you have to respect everyone's shot because then you're going to have the 2 or 3 goal scorers scoring an extra 4 or 5 throughout the season because you're not paying attention to them. And it's just great play by Michelli. Like I said, if Michelli keeps that up, like every single play, whether they scored or not, whether there looked like there was an opportunity or not, Michelli is everywhere, setting everything up. Like I genuinely feel like, minus the physicality of Garland, like my comparison of Garland and Michelli and a lot of the similar play styles they have is getting more and more defined by the day because he does all those little things.
His board play is elite.
except for the physicality. But then again, you don't need him for that. You got Krauser, you got Fisher, O'Brien, you got 20 guys in the roster that big Bill Armstrong boys. Where it's like, no, go out there, you're the skill player. And I kind of feel like getting hit a few times last year, like you were talking about at the very end of the season, came out really strong, then kind of got bullied a bit. I think that strengthened him. I think he kind of got that smack to the face of, you need to be faster. You need to be a little stronger. You need to have higher hockey IQ to succeed here. And this entire season has just been, okay, well, I'm just going to keep doing this and this and this, and who the hell is going to stop me? It is ridiculous.
Yeah, friends of the show, Mike Gould, had a tweet, saying, Matias Michelli looks a lot like Johnny Gaudreau, and I couldn't agree more. He reminds me a lot of Johnny Gaudreau. It is scary how similar the two play, and if he harnesses any of the pointage of Johnny Gaudreau, that would be pretty crazy.
If we're getting even Gaudreau light, so just in case you're thinking I'm just saying another Gaudreau, no, it's a Gaudreau type player, but let's say just not quite as good. Everything's just down a little bit. You're probably getting like 20 less points or whatever. You're not getting a point per game. For $4.5 million a year, that's a steal. That is an absolute bargain. If it keeps up, it's not we don't get into a habit of just jumping onto all the bandwagons. If it keeps up, I wanted to talk about that because I noticed that, and it's just, he's the reason they got the game winner.
Yep.
And I do want to use that to transition into the game winner, because this is a play that there's a lot of people that are really mad about, and from what I heard, even the Boston announcers said the call was a good call, and then I've seen like 3 different interpretations of it, so I kind of want to just go over the play first, and then the interpretations, go over my thoughts, and then give you the mic to spit wherever you want to spit. But so essentially they gave up on the play. The defenders thought it was going to be an icing, gave up on the play. Michelli never did, and no matter what, regardless whether it's legit icing or not, it does not matter, because if the linesman makes a mistake or calls it exactly by the book, you play until the whistle. And the fact that you allowed, it was 2 Bruins defenders back there versus 1 Michelli. You allowed him to get in there, then out-muscle you, then pass it over to Krauser, who just went top shelf on it. That was a really nice shot by Krause.
Really good shot, yeah.
3rd point of the night, 2nd goal of the night. You can't leave him alone. Like, he's minimum 30 goal scorer this year. Minimum.
Yeah, he's at 12 right now in 24 games, so that's pretty crazy.
So, respect his shot. Also, side note, like I was saying, those couple early empty net goals, they can help get a guy's confidence up and get him going. And look where he's at. But anyway, so
I'm gonna throw some math. I'm gonna throw some math up on the screen while you're talking. So
all right, sweet. So let's go ahead and talk about the 2 interpretations. So apparently, I haven't seen the broadcast yet. I've seen multiple people on Twitter that were allegedly watching the broadcast say that the Boston announcers even agreed with the call, stating that if it went into that goal crease, it negates an icing. Now, I spent like 45 minutes trying to find the exact rule, and I'm not going through 100 pages of a rule book, so I was trying to find quick links, and it didn't work for the NHL rules specifically on it. But that also makes some degree of sense, because it's kind of like it could bounce off the goalie if it's going in the crease. It can bounce off the pipe, so you might whistle it down. But another thing is that whenever the puck is going, the linesman has to make a determination on hybrid icing, which is going to, if it's going to cross the line before the player gets there. And with how slow the puck was going, how it looks like it's going to the goal crease, it did. It crossed the goal crease a little bit. If it could go off the pipe, which would negate it, he has to make that call. Now, I think the call was legit. Like, after watching the replay multiple times, like, it looks like that should have been the call. Waved off. If the defender is still playing, he wraps it around the boards. That kills 5 seconds. Boston has at least one more opportunity for a rush. The goal goes in with 11 seconds left. There's one more chance for a rush, one more shot. They could have scored the game winner with 0.1 second left. Like, that's how it could have gone down. I agree with the call. I don't understand the amount of frustration around it, because it seems like that's a more consistent call throughout the league. So even if it used to be this way, it seems like they want it this way now. And at the very least, if you're going to be consistent with it, I'll be fine. But I want that consistency. So it seems to me like the right call, and regardless whether it was or wasn't, you cannot give up on the play. That is still on the Boston defense. I don't really know if I want to blame the goaltending too much there, but at the same time, everyone still needs to be involved and ready, because that can happen. And we've literally seen a number 1 overall draft pick miss an empty net within the goal crease.
Yep.
It's a game of inches, and for whatever reason, everyone thinks that it's fine.
Patrick Steffen also, way back in the day, had that empty netter that it bounced over a stick, and then they went back the other way with 6 seconds left and scored and tied it up. They ended up losing in overtime, but, it happens. That's why you got to play till every last second. I do want to say real quick, because I have the calculator up on screen, Lawson Cross is on pace for 41 goals.
Minimum 30. Like I said, knock. You got to knock on it, but minimum 30. And then just, I had one more comment. I just forgot what the hell that goal. Oh, yeah. That empty net goal that the player put over the crossbar and missed the net. It was within the crease. He didn't even have to touch it, and he touched it, and it went up and over. So, again, play to the whistle, finish your plays. That's something that, if that play happens in a Pee-wee game, you're yelling at your son, why the hell did you stop playing? Your coach is mad about that. If it happens in college, happens in juniors, anywhere else, we're getting mad at the players. But for some reason, when it's the NHL, I know, again, whenever the Coyotes play, it gets people emotional. I get it. Well, I don't understand quite why, but I get it. People get a little emotional. But at the same time, you're the number 1 team in the league. Why the hell are you giving up on a play?
Yep.
You get a line change. So you can afford that to give a little extra effort on that play, because you would get a line change if it's an icing.
Mm-hmm. I will. I'm going to give my opinion, but just before I do, I want to say that if you have been liking this podcast so far, if you could give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on, it goes a long ways, and it's greatly appreciated. Especially if you are on iTunes or whatever, give us a review. Tell us how subpar and great our content is. We are the best subpar Coyotes content on the planet. So thank you so much.
Best Coyotes content that you regret listening to as you're listening to.
Exactly. You get done with it, and you're let's say you're driving to work, right, in your car. You get done with the podcast, you go, and then move on to something else. And that's what we want to hear. That's what we appreciate. I didn't die in
the car, so it's fine.
Exactly.
You know what? If I died while listening to this, I guess it isn't the worst thing I could listen to. That's the kind of praise we're looking for.
Anyways, so back to the icing. It's so tricky for me. So the puck clearly goes through the crease. It goes over the blue, and I've heard that some people go, "Oh, that's the reason the icing was waved off. It was playable." I don't think that's the one. I haven't seen that in the rule book anywhere. 2, I don't think that's actually true at all, because, why does icing get waved off? Because it's on net, right? The goalie has to make a save, or the goalie chooses to play it. Those are the 2 only reasons really you wave it off. Obviously, aside from an attacking player getting there first. So with that argument of it has to be on net, it doesn't hit the post, people. I was sitting at the game, and I could see it perfectly from my seat. It doesn't hit the post. It hits the side of the net. All right? If a shot on goal isn't on goal, if it hits the post, this most certainly was not on goal when it hits the side of the net. So it's clearly not on net. The goalie doesn't play it, and the puck goes over the red line 100%. So to me, that's icing. The only thing that I can see that logically makes sense is that if you're watching the play, the linesman's on the other side of the net. He doesn't have a clear line of sight of it. The only thing I can think of is that he saw it slowing down just before it went over the red line. He lost sight of it. He thought that the defending player was close enough to negate the icing, and that's why he waved it off. That would be my only logical understanding. Like Matt's saying, though, I don't give a crap if it's icing or not, dude. If you're a defenseman, you have to play until the whistle's blown. what did you do? Like, he, in that play, that the Boston defenseman, like, just completely overskates it. And then he can't fish it out because it's, you know, the net's kind of slightly tapered, right? And it's like, dude, what are you doing? And Michelli's like, okay, and just like, thank you very much, and turns around and sees Krause just, you know, beelining towards the net, and hits him with a nice little leading pass. Yeah. I think it was icing. To me, I think it was icing, but it was the wrong call, where the linesman couldn't see it anymore. He thought, hey, not icing. And guess what? You know, hockey is a bunch of gray areas and a bunch of mistakes. That's the nature of the game. You know, he who makes the least amount of mistakes wins. And that's ultimately the truth. And whether the linesman's right or wrong, you made a mistake by not continuing to play. You have to play until the whistle is blown. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, straight up. You have to play to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I still think it wasn't, primarily because, again, I know you had a pretty good view because I know where your seats are. I was messing with him, so I was walking around the bowl. I saw
He's stalking me.
picture and sent it to him.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, like, if you're seeing where that puck's going, it looks like it could have hit the post. It looked like it could have hit, you know, it depends. 1 inch to the left, hits the net clear on. 1 inch to the right, it's even further off, and it's a blatant icing, to where it's like, again, game of inches.
Yep.
You got to keep playing.
Yep.
And, but Richie's also completely correct when he says the linesman is on the opposite. Like, he doesn't have a clear line of sight. So, again, to him, it also could have looked like it's going to hit the post. It's going to hit...
Or that the defenseman's just close enough, right? If you don't see where the puck is physically and you just see a defenseman reaching for it, he could think, oh, okay, he's got it. Like, you're reaching for it. Why are you reaching for it other than to touch it? And if he thinks that he's touching it before the trapezoid, then, you know, that's on you. You gotta play that puck. That's just the truth.
So it's like, you're the number one team, and you got beat by one of the worst teams in the league. And they also got beat off the ice.
They definitely got beat off the ice. That is for certain.
You sent
yes.
me the video. You posted the video. A friend of mine was also sitting like 2 or 3 rows behind that and watched it like straight up. And
So I'll give my perspective first, if that's okay, because I am a first person source on this. So the Coyotes. The fans got into a little kertuffle with some Boston fans, and man, aside from one instance, was it entertaining to watch. So I noticed this in the second period, that there was some jawing going on in the second period over there, and I was going, okay. And the jawing kind of subsides, and the tensions lessened, and then the third period starts. 1 minute into the third period, Nick Schmaltz scores a goal, and does that section just absolutely go wild. So I don't know if this is the truth, but this is what I've put together so far. From what I've seen on Twitter, I don't know if this is reliable sources or anything like that. These are accounts that have been made for a long time, so they don't seem like meme accounts. But from what I've seen so far, from people that were next to that or in the fight themselves, essentially what had started it was the Coyotes score. Obviously, the tensions kind of rise again. Guy who I'm not going to give it away. Well, I already gave it away earlier. Okay, so I'll rephrase this. One of the Boston fans, ends up getting his finger bit off. Boston fan who gets his finger bit off, to start this, smacks a beer out of the cup holder that's behind him. So he's sitting one row lower than the Coyotes fans, and he gets up, he turns around, he smacks a tall boy beer can out of the cup holder that's above him.
Coward.
And then, that obviously raises tensions. I don't know if there's any shoving that's involved or anything like that, but the girl wearing the Gronkowski jersey supposedly threw the first punch. She threw a punch at one of the Coyotes fans, and that's when the brawl began. Sometime during the brawl, clearly somebody bit off one of the Bruins fans' fingers, at least partial of his index finger. The the guy who I am questioning a little bit on being wise, who originally started throwing a bunch of haymakers. He got a beer thrown at him. He's a Coyotes fan, and that's when he joined into the fight, and he just started uppercutting the crap out of the Bruins fan who lost his part of his finger. He looked like he was winning big, but once the Bruins fan kind of subsided and fell backwards, Gronkowski girl goes to like either stop him or get in his face or shove him or whatever she was trying to do. But the Coyotes fan had his hand already cocked, and he was ready to uppercut again. And he turns and sees her, and he's pretty much like instantaneous punch, and he punched her right in the face. I get fights are messy and fast, but I don't condone that at all. Like, I don't care if you're getting, punched or anything like that. Like, if a girl doesn't have direct threat to your life, whether it's a weapon or she's like choking you or something, I don't really see the necessity of punching a girl square in the face. And he definitely did. And he was a big guy. He was ripped. Like he was physically strong. And she could have been in a lot more serious injury if it wasn't for one of the fans, whether it was a Boston fan or a Coyotes fan. There was another girl. When she got punched, she went straight backwards. Like you could tell it staggered her, and she was falling, and she actually fell over a road downwards, and she could have hit her head easily, gone head first backwards. And if it wasn't for a bystander who had grabbed her and stopped her from, going head first, she could have been in a lot more serious harm. And it did seem like he kind of realized like he actually made a mistake and he punched a girl, because you could tell like he kind of stopped up. Not really a good look. Be better, my guy. Like, you can't be punching women. I don't care if they're, getting up on you. Like, you can push them back, stop them, whatever you need to do. But throwing a full on punch at a girl, not a good sign. But he ends up getting, once that happens, a Boston fan behind him ends up shoving him, and that's when the whole pile moves like 3 rows down. It was crazy. Everybody just started falling, and then it just turned into a hugging match pretty much at that point. I don't know where the finger got bit off, whether it was before or if it was in that hugging pile, but it was just a mess at that point. And then we saw one of the cops yeet over the over the seats and start pulling people off. Meanwhile, there was another cop who was just standing there watching. I'm like, bro, like, how are you gonna let this happen? Like, this girl probably got punched because there was a cop just kind of standing there letting them fight. And I'm like, you can't like start pulling people out. Yeah,
I think I have the answer to that. So someone replied to one of my because I quote tweeted, I'm like, I can't explain why. When the cop jumped on the pile, I bursted out laughing. Like, that will it's not like, I know people that were rows below that had nothing to do with it might have gotten hurt there, but like I could not prevent myself from laughing. I just thought that was stupid. And then I didn't even realize like the 4th or 5th time I watched it after someone commented that there was that first cop there, and someone replied to me that he's just supposed to be there to observe. And I'm like, is that protocol? Is it until backup arrives? I'm like, look, I know, like, from the very, 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 very limited knowledge I have when it comes to like cops and whatnot, and my usual disdain for them, it does make some logical sense where he's one person, there's like a crowd of 10, so you want to get a couple extra officers in there to help break it up. So that makes a little bit of sense. A little bit. And I also know that there's a lot of policies you don't really want to discharge your taser, because there's no reason to use a firearm there. You don't want to discharge your taser into a crowd that dense, because you might literally just, I'll use the Gronkowski girl as an example, hit the wrong person. Just straight up. So it's like, that's the only explanation for me why that was. But when the cop jumps on the pile, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, to me, like, the cop that was there first, what I was saying, I could see the observer point of view, that maybe he is not supposed to interject and he's just supposed to observe everything. But to me, like, there was still bystanders standing relatively close. Like, why not start moving them away? You can still observe. Like, you don't have to, if you're not trying to get into the altercation, but you're still watching, like, start pulling people and just going, hey, move back. Like,
hey, stand here, go walk down the aisles, Like, yeah, no, that's completely valid. I completely agree there. I completely agree. And I know there's a little policy where if it's said in the mullet, it stays in the mullet. But I was probably the first person in my area to find out about that fight because Richie said it to me on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
So it's like, I can talk about this. This is all information I'm getting outside of the mullet. I can talk about this. This is the entire thing to me is just, it's hilarious. I don't condone violence. Like, I know Richie, you and then the Richie from Sporty with Rich and Corey both spoke out very heavily against the punch against the Gronkowski chick. My view is not that violence is good against women, but it's also not that violence becomes bad once a woman's involved. It's violence in general is stupid. Like, unless you are defending yourself, unless, you know, for example, Gronkowski chick tries to punch the guy and he holds his arm out, like, you know, you're defending yourself, you're just creating space. Yeah. Fine. Punching her, like, because I know what that part you're talking about, it looked like she was trying to, like, pull that guy back. I didn't actually think she was involved, minus trying to pull that dude back from the clip that I saw. So that additional perspective, like, I thought she went from, it kind of goes from, like, completely innocent to, come on, you probably shouldn't have been involved to start that shit, but that's only if that report is accurate exclusively. But no, it's like, literally, the entire thing was stupid. Like, all of it, just fighting over a hockey game, the idiot, like, flipping over the beer can like a passive-aggressive child, like, oh, I can't get my way, or whatever the hell stupidity like happens. Like, the entire thing is stupid. The entirety of fighting at a hockey game for whatever stupid reason, whether it's men or women, the violence is dumb. It's unnecessary, and the only violence that is necessary is, again, if, let's just, because she was trying to separate what it looked like, if she did turn around and try to punch the guy, again, you can fucking hold her back, or you can just push her back, because he was more than big enough to send her back a couple feet, and that would have given the proper space. Because, like, I know what you're talking about. It looked, he already had the fist cocked back. Like, it was kind of like...
Yeah, he was going for anyone who was coming next, and he didn't realize that the person coming next was a maybe sub 100-pound girl.
Yeah, like, she was, like, really skinny. He's a big buff dude. It's like, like, I've never been in, like, a big fight or anything, but if you're in a situation where things are stressful and, like, you think people are coming at you, like, he had a couple guys that were punching at him, like, I understand why he'd be already cocking back, and, like, you see something coming at you, you're just going to go for it. But again, it's also why the entire thing was stupid. The entire thing, like, because people that were innocent, like, they're 4 rows down, have 200 whatever pound dudes all getting thrown on them. Yeah. Like, I hope all of them were okay. I think it was 8 arrests, 1 was charged. I think it was the Boston fan. That's just one report that I saw on Twitter. Yeah. Again, nothing from the mullet. This is all stuff that's publicly accessible on Twitter.
Yeah. So I'm gonna finish up my story here. So it gets even more gruesome, shall we say? So guy loses finger, right? They start cleaning up, and they're grabbing shirts that were ripped up, shoes, things like that, for the investigation. Excuse me. Sorry, I am burping a lot. So, here's the gross part. One of the fans finds the guy's finger, and he's holding it until the EMS come back and they take the finger. So they might be able to reattach it. If you've got ice, if you start icing it, you can save up fingers and you can reattach them. Obviously, I don't know what type of damage a bite would do, but I suppose you can probably attach anything at this point with how modern medicine works. Yeah, Coyotes fan finds the guy's finger, and after that, they brought in the custodians, and they probably super cleaned like the 4 rows that were involved like 3 or 4 times with like bleach or whatever disinfectant they had, because clearly there was blood from that ordeal. Yeah, it was aside from the punch on the girl, it was a very big Coyotes W. I guess if you were, no, I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say it. I'll say it. I guess if you're misogynistic, then it's an absolute win. But as a non-misogynist, yeah, that one's a little bit of a yikes from me, Captain. Don't punch women.
I feel like you could have said it funnier if you're like, oh, if you're one of those she belongs to the streets types, you're probably thinking it's a W. If you're a normal person, the entire thing like
if you're
Coyotes
not
fans beating up the Boston fans as a concept is a W, but the entire concept of the fight itself is still effing stupid. Like the fact that, again, like, hands were thrown, you had 3 cops have to show up and break everything up. I even like recognized a couple of the security guards that were standing there, like, of people that I work with. Like,
yep.
It's a stupid situation. People that shouldn't have got hurt because of it. There were punches thrown and violence thrown around that shouldn't have been there.
A man's finger is permanently changed because of a nothing game. This game doesn't mean anything.
Game that is not going to matter even in February, even in January. This game won't matter. The only time it's will be brought up is if someone's trying to chirp at Boston fans, being like, "Oh yeah, but you lost to the Coyotes." Like that's it.
I will say this though, aside from it getting messy, this is pent up anger that Coyotes fans have had against Boston fans for close to a decade. You know, the Coyotes
straight games.
Yeah, Coyotes have lost 19 straight games. The last time they had won a game was in Prague, Czechia, against the Boston Bruins in 2010 of October 2010. And
the premiere
so
in Prague.
Yeah, the Coyotes fans have taken quite a battery of assaults vocally by Boston fans over that time. I don't think I've really seen too many fights at a Boston game, as a Coyotes fan in Arizona, but yeah, tonight or last night before Friday. What day is it? I don't remember. On Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, on Friday. You know, I think that kind of shows that, you know, Coyotes fans are, you know, when you kick the beehive, I think the saying is, when you F around, you find out. And
there's a direct correlation. I love that.
Yeah.
You'll find the more you F around, the more you're gonna find out.
Yeah. And that's exactly what the Boston fans did. You know, there's a lot of pent up anger on the sides of the Coyotes fans. Absolutely. You know, you can absolutely feel that anger. And you know, those Boston fans unfortunately found out that the mullet's a little different. You got a lot more college students there, and they like to throw hands. So
look, a better revenge would have honestly just been like if it's about a whole like testosterone match, just steal his girl. I don't know.
It's Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Anyway, no, that's it. Let's move on from this, because TLDR, it was funny to watch a fight, but violence is bad unless you are defending yourself, and I'm not for it. I can laugh at a situation while also being like, objectively, that was not good. Just straight up, it wasn't. So let's go ahead and just move on. There was a fight in the mullet. Boston fans keep taking too many L's, and the Coyotes fans are really turning into the bullied kid in school.
If you really want to fight somebody, don't fight somebody that's above you in the rows. You're only gonna lose, okay?
Take it outside. Leveled playing field.
Level the playing field, yeah.
Man to man, and just like, that's one thing I noticed. Like, you notice about a lot of dudes, like, literally, if you have a disagreement like that, they can also just go take it, like, you know, go take it out back, fight, And then, like, it's usually squashed. They can have a beer afterwards. That could have been a thing where you guys just squash the beef, have a beer afterwards, but instead we have a 4-row brawl at the Mullets. It was stupid. Anyway, so let's talk about Tempe. Let's get away from the violence that a couple of idiots at the Tempe City Council brought up might happen because of hockey, and talk about the unanimous 7-0 vote.
not a good look for hockey on Friday when people specifically said, more fighting and rah, rah, rah.
Just ban if it's a Boston jersey. If you're wearing a Boston jersey, hat, T-shirt, underwear, I don't care.
You're banned from buying alcohol.
That rule, but you're banned. No, you're just banned for the arena. You can't even show up. You can't even show up anyway.
Yeah,
so we didn't talk about it last week.
I'll say this though before we move on. Speaking of showing up, I'm glad, Coyotes fans, that you must have got your bag for selling your damn season tickets. You only got 5 left. Have fun. You only get 6 sales per season, so I hope that this one was worth it to you because you're a dick. All right.
Boston fans pay out the ass. I'm telling you, if I had tickets. So let's just say my ticket was $100. Just for example, I know most tickets were a little bit more.
Yeah.
Boston fans, I'll give you $250 for it. You're telling me right now you're not gonna use that 100 of it to pay off your ticket and 150 to do whatever the hell you want? That's a brand new RR. All right?
Nope.
Like the one that I bought for $200. If I could chill for a second. All right. Real quick before we move on.
Okay.
I want to cut Richie off because he's one of those simps that has no problem bending down to corporations, taking whatever they'll offer, and just paying the full price. So, I was going to get... 1 second. Richie, fill like 30 seconds of time. I want to show this.
Okay, so reverse retros. I don't have mine yet. You want to know why? Because I bought it from the Coyote shop, and I clearly made the mistake of doing so. The Coyote shop ones apparently are going to have the jersey ad with Gila River on them. The ones if you bought them...
Done, bud.
All right, if you buy them off of NHL.com, they don't come with the ads, and they apparently ship faster because I see people already repping theirs. I don't have mine. What the heck? I bought mine day one, and I'm still waiting on the Coyotes to ship them. Well, I know why. It's because it's sitting out in a harbor off of California as the unions continue to take their time with every damn crate possible coming off of a ship.
Anyway. Richie, you're done, bud. All right, corporate shill, you're done, bud. Anyway, so
true.
My paycheck hits. I end up because of how my paycheck works, how I budgeted. I don't budget for anything over X number. So it's like, okay, this is bills, savings, gas, whatever. This is my F around money, and then I budgeted to spend money on my wife for Christmas. Surprisingly, out of that money. Well, because I got a little more than I thought. I got her Christmas gift without having to go into my F-round money, so I was going to buy this nice Johnny Walker jersey.
Oh,
I don't have one of these gold jerseys. It was $237, all right? I didn't actually buy that. I'll get to that in a second if you want, but...
Okay.
So I didn't get to go to lunch on time that day when my paycheck cleared because I had to go do something, other stuff. So as I'm going upstairs to go do this thing that I had to do, I decided to look at the NHL website because AZ Hockey Shop, AZ Sports Shop, I only go for discounted stuff. I go for the clearance. I'll buy some hats, got a couple in, cool, whatever, some t-shirts, pucks, cool. So I look at the NHL website, and I'm like, you know what? I'll buy one of those RRs. I'll look at it. Nothing set up. They'll add a jersey ad. Every single person because I waited because even though I've had a subscriber DM me, hey, why just get the Adidas one. It's not gonna have an ad on it. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait until Arizona fans buy it and just make sure, because I'm not paying full price for a premium product with an advertisement on it because I'm not a Gila River Hotels and Casinos fan. I'm an Arizona Coyotes fan. That's the logo I want on my jersey.
Yep.
So I see guys like Altex, a couple other guys on Twitter get theirs, no ad. I asked them, I DM'd a couple of them, hey, where'd you get it? They said NHL. So look on the website. I'm like, fine, I'll pay the $200. I'll get the Johnny Walker jersey next paycheck. There was a 25% off coupon site-wide. They had two jerseys, the regular and a Clayton Keller customized. And I was wondering, because I look at it at the checkout, I'm like, why the F is this so cheap? So I'm like, what would the price be customized? What would that, because it would look better customized. What would the price be? $200.47 with shipping, tax, everything. I also had some fan cash. It wasn't very much, but Exactly $200.47. That's $10 more than without tax, shipping, all that, a blank. I got a customized with no ad because unlike the rest of you shills, I was willing to wait a little bit, do my research, make sure I was informed of the product I was buying, and I even got rewarded with a discount. Boys, kings, save your money. If you got to be 2 months late to it, you got to be 2 months late to the game.
Risky business, boys. Gamble.
Guess what?
Gamble.
It pays off. It pays off, boys. If you just wait.
My gamble may not have paid off, but guess what? If I would have gotten one and they would have sold out and you would have had none, your little wait wouldn't have worked. So
they already said they were going to have more this time than 1.0 because 1.0 came out during the pandemic and a lot more of the supply chain issues have been ironed out. Not all of them. There are still issues, but a lot more of them have been ironed out, especially a little more pricey. But anyway, then International Bank of Stepmother loaned me the money for that because it was the last gold jersey they had, so screw it. Now I got a Johnny Walker jersey. Gotta go to Utah and see if he'll sign it because he plays for the Utah Grizzlies now. But TLDR, Kings, stop just accepting whatever a corporation throws at you. Like, this is the main reason
I feel personally attacked. Anymore. I am
attacking you. I'm getting on my soapbox for my 5-minute soapbox. Like, literally, the only new games I have bought since 2020 that came out brand new. Valhalla, I paid for the extra DLC edition because I like Assassin's Creed, and that's gonna be the last Assassin's Creed I buy for $60 or above. Because we're going to the next generation. I bought Cyberpunk, which I don't care how glitchy everyone else's experiences was. I had a phenomenal experience. I love that game. Sonic Frontiers. And then I bought the new NHL because it was $60 and I'm like, screw it, I want the updated rosters. And then my wife bought me NHL 22 and she paid for the $70 edition. I've bought 4 games brand new at launch over the last 2 years because of the amount of microtransactions, how these games aren't finished at launch, how these games want to keep nickel and diming, how they want to keep charging more. Like even Microsoft's jumping on the bandwagon of $70 video games. Now I wait for sales. Straight up, like all these companies that are like, oh, we need more money out of you. Okay, well, you would have got 60 out of me. Now I'm gonna wait until your games are like 50 or below. So now you're gonna get less than you would have originally gotten. Wait, like you're not gonna miss out on most of this stuff. Even if it's for a jersey, wait a month or so because even if you just see a Black Friday discount coupon, you see a site-wide 25% off, you are then getting a better deal on a product that you're informed on. And even if that did have an ad on it. Even if that Keller jersey had an ad on it, it would have fit within my criteria of buy it at discount or not with an ad, because I would have gotten it discounted. So seriously, like, know your worth, know you're the consumer and you have the power. Coupon. That's my soapbox.
I will say I do agree with waiting for deals. I just when it comes to jerseys and limited time jerseys, I absolutely don't F around with that. Because they could disappear in an instance, and then the lucid jersey that you want is not going to be there, and it is going to cost you a lot more in resale.
But the reverse retro 1.0, because like I can't find an Adidas, I can only find Fanatics.
Yep,
that is a risk.
Yep, and when it comes to games and stuff like that, I do agree. I wait for sales, like the Black Friday sales, the old Jedi Fallen Order game. I always wanted to play it, but I never could justify getting it, and I picked it up for $7. It was still priced for $40, and it's like a 3 or 4 year old game, and I was like, nope, not gonna do it. But $7, I'll pay $7, and I had a good time and 100% of the game, so it was worth it.
It is pretty good. I only stopped playing because Microsoft does this stupid thing where smart delivery is mandatory. So when you have an Xbox Series S and like half of your Xbox One games decide we're now Xbox Series games, re-download the entire game on your SSD in order to play it. I decided it wasn't worth continuing, but the first 3 or 4 hours was really good. I had a lot of fun. If you have an Xbox One, or like you just bought like a Series X and actually have the storage space, I can recommend it completely.
All right, let's quickly run into the Tempe stuff real quick here.
So,
we are running out of time. Yeah.
7-0 vote. This is the last topic. I do want to point out something that while I found out why none of the council members have said we like the specific words "we like this project," because I was watching, and I highly recommend. Cause I was playing games and chilling for this. Watch the interview that PHNX did with Mayor Corey Woods, because they are legally not allowed to. They can have their own opinions. They will also, because they're citizens, because you have to live wherever you serve. They'll be allowed to vote on the project. I am confident all 7 of them will be voting yes. That's just my speculation, my opinion, no inside sources. But legally, they are compelled to not take a side, because it's their job is done. Now that it's going to referendum, it's not their job anymore to approve this project. It's their job to, like Mayor Woods said, paraphrase slightly, it's our job to make sure that we got the best possible deal for our residents. We were comfortable with where that deal was, and we wanted to give them the opportunity. We wanted them to be able to vote on this. And the fact that we lost a yes and a no vote, both new council members voted yes. The previous no vote, and while I thought part of her criticisms weren't valid, but I did respect the other, half of her criticisms, the fact that even she came out and said, in that, while they were voting, that she appreciated just the due diligence everyone did, that she feels that this deal is a good deal for the taxpayers, that she's been convinced through most of her concerns, like traffic and whatnot, enough to vote yes to send it. That we did that. And I said it from the start. I've got to talk to a couple of people, about this. That I said it from the beginning. The Coyotes needed to be willing to pay more. They need to be willing to make it more Tempe-sided. Like, you need to make it as good a deal for Tempe as possible. And it's like, fair or not, you put yourself in this position. You want to be there. You want that real estate. You need to step up and be willing. And multiple reports. I still haven't read the 200-page thing yet. I think it's available. I have to find where it is first. I think it's on the website.
Yeah, it's on
but
Tempe's
the Coyotes have made concessions. They've agreed to pay more in this and that. And the exact quote in one article was, the Coyotes have agreed to take on more financial burden to make it even less of a risk for taxpayers, which in its original proposal wasn't a risk, but is even less so. Even less so at this point. And it's like, I'm proud of the work they did. They need to continue. They need the signatures. They need to go out there and be honest about everything. Don't try to redact nothing. Don't go back on anything. Don't pull any tricks. And it's like, I know I'm sounding very, very harsh when I say that, but straight up, like, they need to be as respectful as possible. I don't care if they look at this, I wish we could have got a better deal on that. Don't care. Don't care. You negotiated it. This is your deal. You need to go out there and shill for this city, because this is where you need to be. All right? Hockey is going to thrive with that. Just look at the Mullet Arena. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again. That is a monument to Arizona hockey and how far hockey at every level has come in this state. Like, you want to be here. Tempe is the spot,
I can't agree more. And if you're uninformed about how this deal is structured, essentially the way it works is that the way we call it privately financed, even though there is some public funding going towards it, the public funding is not just lit on fire and burnt. It is going to be made back up with the revenues on the site itself. And that's also how they get around not using taxpayer money from people who are residents of Tempe that don't want to support this deal. And you have every right to not support it. I've never made the criticisms that, if you live next to it and you think that there's going to be too much traffic or anything like that, you absolutely have that right to vote no on it. And I have never disagreed with those people. The people I disagree with are the ones who act in bad faith, who are purposely lying about the information, like somebody on Twitter who essentially made the remark that, the Coyotes are making, I think she said billions of dollars in taxpayer money. And I'm like, no.
500 million was the exact figure she shared on 3TV, which I am more and more disappointed, because that's the second either article or person they've allowed on their program that I've seen that was allowed to blatantly spread misinformation on this, and they gave them a platform. Like, I'm very disappointed.
That's crazy. That's almost double what they're actually requesting. So the Coyotes are requesting, I think, like $240 million, and it's not even like taxpayer. This isn't coming out of the coffers of Tempe. The way it's working is that it's a bond. It's essentially like loaning out the money. And the only hit that Tempe has is that they're using Tempe's credit in order to get this bond, okay? And that's the only risk that Tempe has. But as the person that went up onto the platform to make the assurance claim to the council, he works for Tempe, and he says it makes total sense to us because the Coyotes have every incentive to make this work. They're putting up $2 billion of their own collateral. If it doesn't work, they're screwed a lot more than we are here at Tempe. So obviously, signing our name off on that loan of $200 million makes a lot of sense. It's a good risk. There's a lot of risk negation there. And so essentially that $200 million is a bond. And that money goes towards all the stuff to prep the land. So this goes towards remediation, rebuilding the wall. The levee has to be rebuilt. When you dig 30 feet down, that wall is no longer viable anymore. You have to rebuild the wall. There's piping down there below for sewer and waste and stuff like that. Electrical lines that need to be moved away from the site because they were just ran strung across the canal. All this stuff has to be moved before the site can even begin to have boots on the ground. So all this money is going towards that infrastructure. And if you're a Tempe resident and you're like, why do we have to pay for this? If you're selling any sort of land, you're responsible for getting that land up to code, essentially. And the Coyotes are already giving you an out on that. Instead of forcing you to have to pay with your coffers, your taxpayer money, to make this land viable, the Coyotes have given you an out by using, I think it's giblets, or it's the...
it's a 30-year tax on the lease. Because Mayor Wood said that anything, I think ASU calls it the innovation corridor, but anything along the lake, the town lake, has had at least a 5 to 8 year giblet. So it's just a way to get extra tax money. And the Coyotes, this is unprecedented, want a 30-year, they agreed to a 30-year, and as Mayor Woods was talking about on that interview, I think every other arena is tax exempt. Property. Yeah. Property tax exempt.
Yeah, perpetuity, meaning forever. Hold on, let me just finish up real quick.
Sorry.
So essentially what that means is that every dollar that is spent at the arena, a proportion of that money goes back to that $240 million. That means that this is not coming out of your pool of money that you're paying towards your taxes every year. This is coming out of the people who are going there and spending it. These are the people that fly out of state. These are the people that are just next to you in South Phoenix, like myself, that are going to be coming here not just for Coyotes games, but for shopping and things like that. And essentially, so like if every dollar there's 7% tax on that dollar, so you have to pay $1.07. They're going to add 2 to 6% tax on top of that dollar in order to pay back that infrastructure that needed to be built under it. That's really good. That is a really good deal for Tempe and its residents. And if you're not a fan of the Coyotes, that's fine. You don't have to enjoy the Coyotes, but there's also going to be a musical theater there of, I think, 4,000. So if you're like arts, there's going to be stuff for arts there. There's a community rink, which can be used for a whole different bunch of stuff, not just for ice sports, but other sports as well. You can lay mats down and do other sports on top of it. There's also the arena itself, which is going to definitely attract musicians and artists and things like that to come and play in that arena, because it is going to be the best looking arena in Arizona.
And also, because one person brought up the concern, this is going to directly, all these arenas are going to be, destroying themselves. The only arena that's going to suffer is Glendale's, because the Talking Stick Resort, it's still right smack dab in Phoenix. Everybody still wants to go there. Now you're gonna have bands that already played there that want to go play in Tempe, but what happens is, and I know this for a fact with how long my dad worked at Gila and how just bits of information I've heard that came out of that was Gila gets most of their shows because Talking Stick or Footprint, whatever it's called now, is booked. That's where a lot of the shows go to the West Valley, or specific shows that there is more people in the West Valley that would have interest in it. So, for example, it would make sense for a lot of country shows. They also go to the Auction Pavilion or whatever that pavilion's called now, but because a lot more people that are in the West Valley would have interest in a country show or a rodeo, they would go there. There's also if you lose out on Footprint Center, a lot of rap shows, because there's a lot of, in the West Valley, people that would be interested in that, you can go to Gila and still make your money. So that's where the vast majority of the shows come from is Talking Stick or Footprint Center. It's already booked. So it's going to be between the Tempe Arena and Phoenix is not going to lose out on very many shows. And if they do, they're going to find other shows that will fill those exact same nights. It's Glendale Arena that's going to suffer, and we don't care about Glendale Arena. It doesn't matter. Glendale is irrelevant. The only thing that's going to be good for Glendale Arena is whatever mid-crap they're doing until they turn it into a convention center, because we already know they're still losing money on it. Now, apparently, the way the books are, they're losing less than they would if the Coyotes stayed. Don't really care, didn't ask. It's going to be a net benefit, and unless Richie's got anything else he wants to talk about, I want to add a bunch of comments on this deal, because I feel like this would be a really good opportunity to try to inform as much as possible.
I do have stuff, but I'm actually just going to let you go. It's not super relative, and we need to wrap this up, so I want you to get your comments in.
All right, so once again, Mayor Woods is the interview. I still recommend checking it out, but how it works is the Coyotes, like, as soon as, I think it's, if it gets voted yes, or if it's when the land is officially sold, I think it's $45 million that's non-refundable. That goes, so the city of Tempe, he even straight up said, and I'm pretty sure I said this, paraphrase at some point when I was talking about the deal, that they should put something like this in there. I don't remember if I did, but it sounded something that I would agree with. That literally, Mayor Woods said that if it goes through and the Coyotes, for whatever reason, can't pay this or that, and the building doesn't get built, that money stays with Tempe, and they can remediate the land themselves and use it for whatever. Now, the reason I do support the Coyotes asking for that tax money is exclusively because it's for remediation and infrastructure. That's also stuff that would belong to Tempe anyway. It's also stuff that would heavily benefit Tempe regardless. I do think that makes logical sense. And I've said it from the start. That's all I've ever asked for any sort of tax money from. And from the way they made it sound, even with Tempe essentially co-signing the loan or however it works, it doesn't go on Tempe's books because the Coyotes are the ones that are responsible for it. And if for whatever reason it doesn't get paid, they could add an additional, I think it's up to 8% tax on things in the TED that the business owners and the Coyotes have to make up, that they have to be able to pay, because this is not going on the taxpayers. This has to be through private finance. That's why they can say, and it's 100% accurate to call it a privately financed arena, because the only thing that has any sort of public risk, and it's not even public risk, it's just public money that's allowed to be used to it, and it's not even your property tax, your sales tax in downtown Tempe, your sales tax on Mill Street, or Mill Ave, stupid.
Mill Street,
you know
all right.
About, right? You know
No.
the meme I'm talking about, or no?
No.
It was Carrie Lake. She called it Mills Street.
Oh, God.
But on Mill Ave, none of that goes to it. It is only tax money generated in the TED. That is it, and it's an incredibly one-sided deal, because if the Coyotes fail at all, there is no risk to Tempe. Absolutely none. Not on their books. It's essentially, from how it's described to me, I'm gathering from everyone else talking about it, it's essentially like a cosign. But it's still on the person that took out the loan. So there is so much benefit there and logic to it, and I don't see a logical opposition, because they even found out ways through traffic studies to mitigate traffic concerns. The only people I genuinely agree with that would have an issue, not even not vote yes, just have an issue, are the people that live right where the additional traffic is going to be. because straight up, like, that will be a headache and that will suck. However, it's going to benefit the city so much with all of this that I genuinely don't think that the minor headache is going to be bad enough for those people. Not for me. I'm a West Valley kid. It doesn't affect me. The only thing that affected me was the Coyotes leaving Glendale, and now I have to drive, distance to go watch them. But it's my drive to work anyway. But it's just it's turned into such a good deal, and I am proud of the work they did. Just straight up, I think that there isn't much more they could have done to make it any more one-sided towards Tempe. And that's why I'm so confident. The more details I'm hearing about it, and again, I do need to take responsibility. I do need to get my hands on the proposal so I can read it myself. I'm an idiot, so I don't know if I'll be able to comprehend most of it, but at least attempt. But everything as it's being explained and presented to me, this is a very good deal for Tempe. And the Coyotes did everything that they needed to do, everything that I asked. And again, they don't listen to me. They don't care. They don't know who I am. Like, I can still walk around mullet around Coyotes personnel and they don't know who the hell I am. Because I'm a nobody, and that's fine. But the things that I was requesting this entire process, they did. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm confident in this. There is still some idiotic opposition, but every one of their arguments is stupid. Every one of those arguments is stuff that me, an idiot, can argue against and actually have a coherent, logical argument. So I fully believe in this project, and I'm so cautious, but like I know we Coyotes fans, you still have to hold back the celebration. We still gotta wait until May, and even then, there's still the opportunity for lawsuits. But even then, like Sky Harbor, the biggest opponent, they came to an arrangement. They're all cool with everything.
Well,
Sky Harbor even
arrangement,
said they
air quotes,
air quote, but. The Sky Harbor representative said there are still a couple of concerns, but everything has been addressed or mitigated to the point where they're comfortable in working with them on it.
I find it funny that they couldn't make the housing work at all because of the noise, but now they're okay with the noise. And you want to know why, Coyotes fans? It's because the Tempe Zoning Commission absolutely clapped Sky Harbor. So the reason why is that when they first put in this RFP, the zone was for single family housing, and they changed it to multi-use zoning, and essentially that killed Sky Harbor. They had no argument after that, because at the time their argument was, okay, well, you're in the 75 decibel noise contour. Our newest map, they weren't in there previously in the 1999 map, but the newest map you're in there now, and that's why we're complaining about it. But then the zoning commission quietly just changed it from single family to multi-use, and all of a sudden you can't fight it anymore, because the whole argument that the intercontinental agreement had was, their whole argument was for single family. And when you turn it to multi-use land, all of a sudden you have no thing to fight on, because you can use multi-use land for 75 noise contour. So you literally just lose the lawsuit. You just walk in, oh, this agreement says 75, your new map says 75. What are you complaining about? That's essentially what would have happened if they tried to sue. So yeah, that's they came to an agreement, but realistically, the Tempe Zoning Commission absolutely demolished Sky Harbor, and they still made concessions. So whatever. Congratulations, Sky Harbor, you got your concessions or whatever. And
also, I feel like City of Phoenix okaying that new Rising Arena. That I think they're building over the swap meet, which used to be the dog racing track.
Yeah.
And it's literally right next to one of the runways. So I feel like that also was like a death knell, where it's like they realized they had to make a couple extra concessions, because how can you in good faith, which is what a lot of lawsuits depend on, argue that this one arena is going to be so detrimental, but a soccer facility that's essentially right on your runway, right next to it, wouldn't. So it's like the only people that have any argument is Goldwater, and they've been a thorn in the Coyote side since Glendale. So it's like there's probably going to be a lawsuit from them, and I just don't know how long that's going to take to resolve.
I doubt there will be. There's been so much due diligence put on this deal that it's not been rushed one bit, and they probably realize that, and they're probably like, yeah, there's no way we'd win a lawsuit, unless they just do it to make money, right? Because that's one problem with lawsuits, is that people will do it just to make money. So, for instance, if their lawsuit costs them $2 million, but you have all the contrarians that are on this deal, and they're donating to their cause, and they make $4 million. Well, they just profited $2 million by wasting everyone's time. And the only people that hurts are the contrarians that were stupid enough to give them their money.
So anyway, TLDR, I think I can speak for Richard on this. I can speak on behalf of the Desmond Hockey Podcast. We're in full support of this deal. And we do have complete confidence that it's a good deal and it will go through. But again, wait until May. We cannot start popping the champagne yet. We still have to be smart. We still have to be cautious, and we still can't be too arrogant.
If you're a Tempe resident and you're listening to this and you've never voted before, go out, grab a voting card. It's super easy. I think you can even order them online, if my memory serves me, at the DMV or somewhere like that. Go out there, do it. You can get a mail-in ballot. Super, super easy. You don't have to go to day of voting. I've been doing mail-in ballots since I was 18. Like, really easy stuff. Vast majority of Arizonans use mail-in ballots too. I think it's like 40 or 50%. Super easy stuff, and it's just like weed or schooling or anything like that. It's, do you support this, yes or no, and you put down yes. And that's all there is to it. It's super simple, super easy.
And just
make sure to go out there and vote.
Your money's not on the line, but this will have long-term benefits for Tempe. And I acknowledge, I am a biased, individual in this, because I'm a huge Coyotes fan. So take that into account. If that's enough to make you weary of my opinion, I'm not going to argue with you, because that would, in my opinion, be a little manipulative. I'm just going to say, in my opinion, I do think this is a great deal. This will benefit your city in the long run. So seriously, if you have concessions about it, the entire thing should be publicly accessible by now, and it really is beneficial, at least in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of individuals, a lot of groups, like union groups, and
it was the highest paid project for union workers. I just pooped on the union workers with the shipping remarks, but I am right about that. All right. Those shipping unions are absolutely ridiculous in what they're doing.
There are good and bad unions. There are.
Yes.
The electricians union in Arizona is, when I was doing electrical work in 2015, 2016, my boss even said, like, it's considered one of the best unions in the country. So it's do your due diligence. Like, there are good unions. I still think most of the concerns can be fixed with regulation, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Wow. A libertarian saying regulation. Okay. All right. Anyways,
I'm a realist.
Okay. But anyways, so yeah, it is the most money going to any union-based work in Arizona ever, I think, is what they were saying. I don't remember if that was true or not. So they're giving the most amount of their money. It's the most money a single project has ever gotten for a union job. So there's a lot of money going into union work, and I do agree. I think union work is good. It delivers a better product, which is the most important thing. I don't know if I justify if you're able to make more in a union versus just being a subcontractor, but subcontractors, their whole premise is to get the job done as fast as possible, which definitely means you cut corners. Whereas union workers,
positives and negatives.
Yeah, union workers, you're doing it at your own pace. That is sucky that it takes longer, but the quality of work is going to be much better.
Especially for stuff like electricians, concrete workers, like the people that build buildings. Like, as someone who doesn't generally like unions, because I think it takes away people's personal ability to negotiate for themselves, like the results are there. Like, it is shown to give you better quality work. And for an arena, and how many buildings are notorious for breaking down relatively quickly or being in bad shape after X amount of time, the risk of that happening for this building also mitigates with having higher quality work and materials going into it. Yep.
All right. Well, we said before we started recording we wanted to make this podcast about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and we're over an hour. So that's the Desmond Hockey Podcast right there. Make sure to give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform you're listening to us on. You have been listening to episode Vernon Fiddler, and play the fiddle. Let's end this one out, Matt. Let's. Thank you. There you go.
Can't do any more, or else we'll get sued.
All right.